Hi everyone, welcome back to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday afternoon for news and politics. We'd like to thank Reverend Jean with the First Unitarian Church for coming on to talk about the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Freedoms event at the Rhode Island State House tomorrow. And speaking of State House, a lot going up there today and this week on the issue of legalization of marijuana. And would like to welcome my next guest, Maggie Kain with Regulate RI. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It is the hot button issue of the year, one of, and especially this week as well, as the Assembly is taking up, again, the governor's proposal to legalize marijuana as was placed in her budget. But as we discussed coming on here, there's a lot of moving pieces as far as this is involved. But let's take a step back. It's been a multi-year effort by the coalition, Regulate RI, and others looking to legalize here in the state. It's 2019, and every year there was talks about, well, what are the lessons learned and what's the best legislation to put forward? So let's talk a little bit about what Regulate RI was looking for this year and what is specifically in the governor's proposal.
All right, great. Thank you. First, we're really thrilled that the governor did include this in our budget, as well as the Department of Health and the state police coming out to testify in favor of legalization. They feel like it's impossible to be an island of prohibition surrounded by states where it is legal, so why not be able to have resources to help educate with prevention and obviously abuse. So we're really happy with that. It is a complicated bill. It's very long. It includes medicinal marijuana. It also includes regulation of CBD products. And it also obviously includes legal recreational use for adults over the age of 21. So there is a lot to unpack around here. So
certainly a lot to unpack. And just yesterday, Liz Tanner with the Department of Business Regulation was on live with GoLocal CEO Josh Fenton and made the point you pointed out as well, really touting the fact that Rhode Island saying this would be the most stringent regulations of any state. Is that a good thing in your book?
In a way, because it's nice for people to feel reassured that this isn't going to be something that completely changes and puts people in danger. Obviously, it does not. I fully believe that it's safe, but Regulate Rhode Island. It wants to look at this bill through three things. It's we want to make sure that communities that have been affected by drug wars and incarceration definitely are able to participate in this new economy. We would also like to be able to have regular Rhode Islanders be able to participate in this economy. We also really want to do consumer protections as well. So there are some things in this bill that say there isn't anything to prevent employers from discriminating against people who are even medicinal marijuana users. So there are some things that need to be touched upon. So, and especially with consumers, I was just telling you that the CBD products would have a 40% sales tax as well as the 7% sales tax, which we really disagree with. Depending, because of the fact that it's not, it's consumed. They were using, vape pens as a reason to sort of double that tax, but really, we know that there are other ways to consume it. So
you raise a very interesting point about the issue, the de facto monopolies, if you will. You've definitely seen a lot of talk, as you said, about communities being able to tap into this market, and there's sort of a sense that among some folks that there's already the groundwork set for folks to really take advantage of this legalization. I mean, can the average person who wants to be on the business side, let's talk a little bit, there's 3 existing dispensaries on the medical side. That's kind of the debate right now. Would they be able to open, again, another selling point now? That
is a point in the bill that we do disagree with, that the 3 established dispensaries would have a first choice in a second retail license. They did drop the price from $250,000 for a license down to $50,000, but any regular person would know that that's still a large amount of money to come up with to start a business. So we would like to encourage the governor and her office to be able to make sure that there aren't these big corporate monopolies on this industry, because we know that this is really a grassroots economy, and we want to keep it that way. You can see in other states it growing at fast pace, and people have found all sorts of different ways to be involved in this new economy. So we want to encourage that.
It's been interesting. One of the things the governor has always said throughout her tenure is that she wanted to learn the lessons from Massachusetts. Well, Massachusetts just went live and online, but we've seen other states around the country as well, and people have talked to that too. Have there been lessons learned of we should do that or we really shouldn't do that? Or is just each state by state example just so unique?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that absolutely states are unique in their own ways, obviously in their experiences with legalization. But I mean, the studies have been coming out. There is not an increase in teenage use in the states that have legal marijuana. So that is one lesson that we could learn, right, that's come out of this. And just we could use, like the Colorado state model is a really great model. They have made quite a bit of money for their, from their economy, and they've been able to fund their school systems that way in a better way. And I think it's also increased, let's say, their tourism business. So, yes, I do think that there are ways that we can learn. And I would say that of all the states that have legal marijuana, that Washington is the only state where there is no home grow, and that is one of the things that's proposed in the governor's plan is that there would be no home grow in Rhode Island, and that does we don't agree with that because we do believe that people should be able to cultivate in their own home, obviously with smaller quantities. So
let's talk a little bit about that from when you especially have heard from on the medical side. Patients who have concerns about their ability to say what they're able to produce for themselves. Because concurrently with proposing legalized marijuana for recreation use, there are changes to the medical marijuana program, correct?
Absolutely. The proposed changes would make the patients or the caregivers or the cultivators come up with reasons why they would need to have a plant that's, say, with a higher level of THC than 50% in a plant, where many patients who testified said, and this is a very personal experience for many of them, is that they've found the plant and the strain and the amount of THC or CBD in that plant that really works for them and their ailments, right? So we really want to protect the patients to make sure that they are able to control their own medicine that makes them be able to function and feel better, because that really is the point of this plant, right? It's so.
And you also mentioned as well the full-scale legalization would be under the auspices of DVR. So there has been some concern amongst those in the medical community about what is the role of the Department of Health in this then?
Right, and because the Department of Health has been in control of this, and someone who testified at the hearing brought up a really good point. She said, I'm a patient. Why would I be under the guise of the Department of Business Regulation? Because there really is a difference in the two, right? And I respect that. I believe, again, that we do need to take away the burden on patients for being able to get their medicine, which also includes being able to have access to it. Let's say traveling the 45 minutes. I live in the southern part of the state. Traveling 45 minutes to a dispensary, if I didn't have access to that, it would be very difficult. So there are some things that we really want to make sure that the patients are protected.
Do we have a sense of numbers of patients who have their own grows in Rhode Island? Because you raise an interesting point about the kind of battle over THC level. What boiled down does the regulation and oversight and testing, if you will, a patient has some plants. Does the Department of Health come in with a little thermometer and find out the THC level? So
Right.
Who's overseeing this to what degree?
The Department of Health, so it is a separate form that you have to fill out that say, so if you do have a medicinal license, that's one form, and if you want to become a caregiver or grow your own plants, that's another form that's to fill out, and you do get tags for the amount of plants that you do claim that you are going to grow. So, and like I said, this is a cultivation experience. People get pride and they feel like a sense of accomplishment when they do grow these plants. It's not always easy to garden, as we can all know. So we really do want to give them the option of being able to grow their own plants at home.
Because, you can spend a lot of time, money, and investment and also not seal. Something can happen with the grow all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not assured of having what you had anticipated as well. Let's talk a little bit about price point. We've seen the legalization in Massachusetts. Is there going to be price wars, or is the market pretty much set sort of at that? Do folks know it's X amount for the product that they're looking to purchase?
Well, with the dispensaries, they have 3 tiers, right? So the third tier is obviously the most expensive, with the first tier being the least expensive. I will say that the governor has given room to make sure that there is no shortage of flower, right? So the patients that do have the license are able to get their medicine. But the price point is, again, if you take away that home grow or the caregivers, which really a lot of the times they do that as an act of caring, right? They don't necessarily are looking for a profit. So we need to make sure that that stays intact, so that the people who want to do it recreationally, well, sometimes you got to pay the price to be able to do that, right? And we want to keep that obviously, under control. But with the medicinal, and I would say that the CBD 40%, again, CBD products are really common these days. You would see them a lot in different stores at checkout.
Restaurants, smoothie joints.
Exactly. So this is a really great way for small businesses, to make, they say the profit, or, CBD is really a business that's growing by leaps and bounds. So you really don't want to hamper that, especially in Rhode Island, because we want to see growth, right?
Anything else you want to share with folks as this is making its way again through the assembly, proposed as part of the governor's budget? As you said, a number of things you agree with, a number of things that you don't. Any sort of final thoughts? And they're certainly not final, because this is still moving.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say that please be vocal. Get in touch with your local state representatives and state senators to say that you do support legalization. Go to Regulate Rhode Island Facebook page, website, and there will be facts if you feel like having written testimony to give to them. Because we do know that the majority of Rhode Islanders do believe in legalization, and we need voters and residents to be very vocal about that. And unfortunately, because it's been so marginalized in the past, it is hard sometimes for people to speak out about their support of it. And also, I would encourage lawmakers to look at other bills. Rep. Marcia Ranglin-Vassell has a bill that would establish a committee where the funds from the profit would create a commission that would give monetary and technical support to Rhode Islanders who would like to be part of the cannabis business. So there are ways that, and we want to be able to get everyone's voice so that we really have an equitable law that helps everyone and not just the corporations.
Well, Maggie Kain with Regulate RI, I appreciate your taking the time to come in today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
To talk right to the viewers here. And don't go anywhere. We've got more live for you. We've got Rose Weaver coming into the studio in just one moment. We'll be right back.